Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Free agency is more or less over. Are the Lakers being underestimated? That is next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter where you get your podcasts, this one's always free. It's never going to be behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, of course, is where over 36,000 subscribers are not just satisfied, Andy, with merely subscribing on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and getting the show that way. They are also subscribers on YouTube to the YouTube channel. They're talking to each other. They're talking to us. And they are leaving questions and comments and all kinds of stuff. So we do appreciate everyone, no matter how you connect to the show. Want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. LeBron James is once again leaving provocative photos on Instagram. This one got a lot of Lakers fans riled up on Thursday, but should it have? We will tell you that in a moment. But wanted to start here because we spent a lot of time, Andy, on Thursday's show talking about ESPN's extremely early power rankings for the NBA, and the Lakers were 10th on this list. So
10th overall, 7th overall. In the West.
And then, right, like I was going to say, 7th, if you take out the Eastern Conference teams, the Lakers were 7th would have been equivalent to 7th in the West. So we talked about that and whether or not that was fair, unfair, whatever. And both of us since then, you with Jovan Buha, and then doing some work on Spectrum Sportsnet, the Lakers TV station. I was on 710 ESPN on Thursday afternoon, which is the Lakers flagship radio station, and this came up there. It was, I wonder if, there's a theme here that, maybe that the Lakers are being a little bit underestimated based on what they've done through the end of free agency. I'm curious what you think, and then I'll communicate one of the arguments that was made to me.
Underestimated isn't necessarily the word that I would use, just because, like I said before, I think when we talked about this for Thursday's show, I talked about this with Jovan on Buha's block, which everybody else should also be listening to as well once you've listened to us, obviously, first. But, make a Locked On podcast your second listen, but there's plenty of time. Make Buha's block your third listen.
And then, or if nothing else, and then go get a job.
Well, or if nothing else, make the episode of Buha's block with me on it your third episode. And you know what? I bet from there you're going to get hooked on Jovan, because he does a really good job, and he is obviously a friend of this show. But we went through tiers, and that's the way we kind of laid out the Western Conference. And in a way that I think sort of demonstrated how close I think a lot of the West is going to be, I had OKC as tier 1 by themselves out of respect for them being the defending champs and having pretty much boat raced the entire NBA last year. And then I had Houston as my tier 2.0, then Denver as my tier 2.1, then the Lakers, I think it was like the Lakers, Timberwolves, Clippers, and Warriors as tier 2.2, then like a couple more teams as like tier 2.5, and then I eventually reached Phoenix. They were their own tier that I just called hell, because it just seems like the Suns is just a hellish experience. But the point being, I don't think there is a ton of difference, like tons of tangible difference between most of the playoff teams in the Western Conference. I think a lot of them, frankly, are going to be dependent on injury luck. There's going to obviously be how well do the pieces work together. Several of the prominent teams have new pieces ranging from Kevin Durant to Bradley Beal to Cam Johnson to case of the Lakers, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, like down the line, eventually the Warriors may add a new piece to their team or just do something. Like there's a lot of new stuff going on, and that stuff's going to matter. But I think a lot of this is going to come down to how healthy does your team stay?
Yeah.
And nobody can predict it. And most of these teams, I think, have injury concerns that could derail them. But the truth is, I think most of these teams are fairly equal. So in that sense, I don't, unless you just say you don't think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs or like make the play-in, underestimated isn't necessarily the word I would use, because I think most of these teams are pretty equal, and therefore the rankings are kind of arbitrary.
Well, I definitely agree that they're arbitrary. Here's maybe a better way to ask what I'm asking is that let's assume, and it's not going to work this way. In practice, it never does. But let's just assume everyone's roster stays intact and you're just judging based on like sort of what is everybody's top end. I was talking to Mike Trudell, who people know, Lakers reporter, and just did great work on Spectrum, sideline reporter for the Lakers broadcast, and he's on 710. And he's, I don't think he's not doing Laker Film Room anymore, but like he was on that show for a long time and like just knows a lot about what's going on with the team. He made an argument, we were talking about this today, that the one thing, it's not a skinny Luka question, it's a sort of healthy Luka question. Like we may be underestimating as a Royal basketball public, a little bit of recency bias, how good Luka is when he is right. Because last year he wasn't. Last year was the first year, other than I think his rookie season, that he was not a first team All-NBA performer. And he didn't deserve to be. It's not like he deserved to be on that, even with the even if he had played enough games. Still wasn't good enough. And all of that. But in years past, there's a reason why he was discussed as a not top 10 player, not a top 5 player, but oftentimes top 3 player. And so what the Lakers have that other teams don't is a bona fide top 3 guy, top 5 guy, plus another second team All-NBA player in LeBron. Now, questions as to whether or not he's going to stay that way, all that stuff, totally legitimate. So you take that core and you add to that a viable center, a filling of that hole in defensive hole in the backcourt with Marcus Smart, and a pretty good, decent approximation of at least some of DFS's skill set in Jake LaRavia. And Mike's point was that the Lakers might be their sort of top end, if all is right, everybody's healthy and whatever, maybe being underestimated just because of the support behind star power that other teams may not have in terms of 2 of those guys. And I forgot Austin Reeves, by the way, as a all-star adjacent level player. I mean, not an all-star, but close. And what that really got me thinking, Andy, was kind of like, are we still in an era in the NBA where that kind of star power matters as much as it did before? Because it kind of used to be, if you had a top 3 guy, you were almost automatically at a certain seed. If you had 2 of those guys, you were, potentially even better than that. But I don't know if that's the league that we live in anymore. And that, to me, is what was really interesting about the discussion.
Well, based on the current champion, I'd say it's still the league, because Shea is, I think, considered at worst the consensus second best player in the league. And Jalen Williams is starting to close in on could be top 10 status. Jalen Williams, I think, at worst is a top 10 to 20 player. I mean, he has played at that level consistently all season. He's one of the best 2-way rising stars in the league. So if you're basing things on recency and 2-way star play, Boston Celtics had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, pretty damn good duo. Shea
backed up by a lot
right
of sort of that just beneath all-star caliber.
Right. And then OKC has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, reigning MVP, reigning Finals MVP, with Jalen Williams, and backed up by a lot of stuff that includes Chet Holmgren, who a lot of people think in not very short, very long time will surpass Jalen Williams. And whether that proves correct or not, it just goes to show how good their foundation is. So,
right. By the way, this is why I'm not. None of this stuff that I say is really to put the Lakers on a tier of Oklahoma City, but kind of looking at the rest where they kind of are seen among the rest of the conference.
I'm just saying, if you're asking to whether or not this should be judged through the prism of top duos, I would say the last couple champions in the NBA shows that star duo is a pretty good way of framing this.
All right, so we'll dig a little bit more on this, and then we will show you, Andy, the provocative photo that LeBron James put up on the Insta on Thursday, and we will tell you whether or not this is something that you need to make a big deal out of, and we'll do all of that stuff next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided the last minute to head to a ball game with some friends or family? Maybe it's game day and all of a sudden you get that itch to be in the stands. And that's where Game Time comes in. The easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food or drinks or merch or just have a bigger group come with you. Maybe you treat one of your friends to a ticket. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch. So they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting MLB game at Dodger Stadium, where I know a lot of Laker fans spend their offseason. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
So yeah, like I was saying, Andy, like I thought two things in this conversation with Mike, and like the biggest one is just this. It seems kind of crazy to think about it, but you're kind of forgetting how is it easy to forget after a guy has a down year how good someone like Luka is. I think that's happened before, for example, with like Kevin Durant. Comes off an injury season, whatever, and it's like, oh, right. It turns out he's really good. Like, I know he's old. I know he's whatever. He's really good. I think it's happened with LeBron. Like, oh, I guess he's still good. And like, there is so much talent now in the league. And I think there is often an urge to kind of turn the page on guys or, find the next thing, the next, anoint the next person, that sometimes I think we move on a little quickly. I don't think necessarily we've done that with Luka, but I do think the version that if the Lakers get the version of Luka that Dallas got 2 years ago, that's fundamentally something that I think changes their upside in a way that I'm not totally sure is being factored in to how people perceive the team. It's such a bad end to the year that people don't like Deandre Ayton, but they're also not thinking about comparing Deandre Ayton to what the Lakers played the playoffs with. They worry about Marcus Smart, but they don't understand necessarily that Marcus Smart, even if he's not the DPOY from 3 years ago, still represents a big upgrade to what the Lakers are able to do in their defensive backcourt. Like, better. This is better than what they had for a team that was still pretty good, both down the stretch and heading into the playoffs.
I don't think the issue is so much that people are underestimating Luka, or other than wondering, okay, is this the year where finally age really catches up to LeBron in ways that become less tenable? Like I've said before, I think the age shows with LeBron, and the biggest way is he doesn't make this look easy anymore. He's still playing at a high level, but you feel the work and the sweat and the effort in ways that you didn't when LeBron was in his prime. But I think everybody still acknowledges he's playing at a high level. He made second team All-NBA. That requires voting. And the same people that make these rankings are the people that voted LeBron second team All-NBA. So there's clearly acknowledgement that he's still a good player. What I think more of the doubting with the Lakers comes from, as you said, questions about DeAndre Ayton and whether he'll find the proper motivation, things like that, or the questions about Marcus Smart's fit. And while you and I both agree he is a good addition, I think he will help provide some of the stuff that's been missing, particularly in the starting lineup, if he starts the way both of us think that he should. He still is not the perfect fit to address some of the things that they're missing.
Yeah.
But what I do think happens with the Lakers, and I've talked about this before in the past in terms of the way they get prognosticated either before the season begins, during the season, even sometimes heading into the playoffs. I think there can be a tendency to pick apart the question marks with the Lakers, however legitimate those question marks can be. And there are question marks I think you and I spend time examining. But the question marks for the other teams don't necessarily get the same scrutiny. Like, for example, Denver, when they made the trade for Cam Johnson, that has been universally celebrated. And I get it. I think Cam Johnson can be a good fit in certain ways. I think he does things that you weren't getting from Michael Porter Jr., but it's getting, I think, very universally overlooked. Cam Johnson's been hurt more than Michael Porter Jr. over the last few years. Cam Johnson has not really been a small forward wing defender for a few years on a consistent.
Like when people are like, oh, he's a lockdown guy on the wing.
Right.
He can hit 3-pointers. I agree with you.
Bruce Brown, yeah, it's cool that he's coming back to a team that he won a championship with, and that guy was really useful. Bruce Brown has not been that guy for a couple of years. Like I've heard him described a lot as a bargain, as a veteran minimum guy. The truth is, the last couple of years, he's performed like a veteran's minimum guy.
He had some moments last year, but I agree with you broadly.
Yeah, he has not been performing like a bargain at that price. He's been performing like a veteran's minimum guy, which isn't to say he can't be useful. But I think Bruce Brown joining the Lakers would automatically invite more scrutiny than just about any other team. And I've talked about this before. I think this comes a lot from media not wanting to ever look like they are hyping the Lakers and getting on the Lakers train and trying to use the Lakers to generate excitement. You will often hear different podcasts where hosts spend 10 to 15 minutes talking about why they don't want to talk about the Lakers. You know what I mean? And like this is a thing that happens. And because of that, I think it leads to a lot of times people in our space using a lot of either caution or scrutiny or skepticism that can reasonably be applied to the Lakers that just doesn't get applied at the same level of scale to other teams.
Yeah, it's almost as if it's not that people don't ask the questions, but the assumption with other teams is often that the questions will tilt positively.
Yes.
Where it's the Lakers, it's going to tilt negatively.
Yes.
And reality is we just don't know. All of these teams are, not all, but many of these teams are one big injury or a couple of from being wrong place, wrong time. All of a sudden, even the Thunder would be somewhat susceptible to that. Although they showed last year, at the very least, they can play without Chet for stretches and things like that. They're really good. It's just trying to, because you and I don't like to be homers.
No.
We try to be fair, and certainly when you cover,
I've made it really clear. I'm a big Laker fan IRL. Like, I truly care about them winning and losing, and I get pissed off when they don't win, and I get excited when they win championship. Like this stuff genuinely means a lot to me, but I don't think it affects our coverage, and certainly it doesn't lead to dishonesty or homerism in ways that we're clearly not telling the truth.
Right. And it's one of those things too, where like, because, we follow the same standard that the organization does, even while trying to acknowledge, like, okay, you're not going to win a title every year. There's value in being competitive and all these other things. Like, every year we go into it, like, how close are they really to winning a championship? And everything is viewed through that prism. It is even, when you cover a team every day and you sit there and you're sort of, you become, trained almost to find the flaws and find the parts that, that aren't going to work, that are going to keep you from being a title contender, as opposed to being like, you know what, here are where the things could go really well. Like, I think the Lakers have a ceiling that's pretty high. They just need more things to work out than the Thunder do. But there's no reason they shouldn't be right up there in the mix with all of these other teams that are sort of in that next tier below the Thunder. And when the playoffs roll around, if the Lakers are healthy, I don't think there's any team necessarily they can't beat. It's just a question of, can you win 4 series? Can LeBron be LeBron for 4 series against 4 really good teams? Like, these are
That's a legitimate question.
Yeah, then those are the kinds of questions that we'll be asking as we get closer to the season and obviously into it. Speaking of LeBron, Andy, he got very provocative with Instagram on Thursday. Should people be provoked? That's next. Andy, it's August 1st, as people listen to the audio portion of this at the very least, and the summer of LeBron posting photos that get people's attention continues. This was Thursday. He is working out are those toe shoes that he's wearing? I think they are.
I'm not sure.
Or they're like Roman style loafers. If that's the case, respect. Underneath it was a caption from, I believe, a Jay-Z tune. My hip hop is not exactly on point.
Oh, really? You mean when you refer to it as a Jay-Z tune? you don't think that made you sound like you were deeply entrenched in the hip hop scene, Brian?
Would they call it a track? Would they call it a song?
I certainly wouldn't call it a tune.
Tune. A little bebop.
I'm pretty sure that's how Ed Sullivan introduced Jay-Z when he appeared on.
They used to call it a
big
ditty,
Jay-Z tune we're about to play.
They used to call these things a ditty, but nobody really uses that term anymore. This obviously got people's attention because it's LeBron in front of the Clippers logo. And he's been working out in Cleveland, and he's worked out he's basically, it seems like he's trying to get like his travel card, like he's at Epcot. And if you visit every country, you get like a free beer at the end. This one got a lot of people worked up though. Should it have, Andy?
No, as it turns out, it should not have at all, because as Rich Paul later explained in a live stream, they were working out at the old Clippers facility, the old one that when Brian and I first started working in this industry like 20 years ago, that was frankly a dump. And the Clippers have since, in the Ballmer era, moved on to something much more spectacular and befitting of NBA players.
Right. Well, no, the facility at the Spectrum Fitness or whatever, that a bunch of years ago, that was a dump. The one in Playa was nice before they moved. It was the one in Playa was pretty nice when they moved. And they moved. I thought that was a pretty good facility. The one I haven't been to the one in Inglewood, so I don't know if they're practicing.
Well, I mean,
better. But
the point being, though,
they're not there anymore. It's not their current facility.
Right. It is a dump compared to what I think they practice in now. I think we can agree on that. And either way, it's empty. It's being unused. So Rich Paul clarified that Clutch clients are now regularly working out in that facility. He said, quote, "I just hope we get to keep this facility because nobody cared about this facility until we got it." That's true. And now everyone wants this facility. That's what happens. It's their old practice facility. Yes, they don't need it back. They have a new place. I'm just saying it was sitting here idle. Steve Ballmer and his team were gracious enough to allow us to use this facility. So this was essentially LeBron working out in the unofficial Clutch headquarters, not the even unofficial Clippers headquarters.
It's the Clutch dojo, Andy.
It is the Clutch. It's the Clutch Mojo Dojo house. But what it is not anymore is anything used by the Clippers. Like this,
right.
And this, what you and I have been, I think, pretty open in pointing out the, as I like to say, passive aggressive posts from LeBron, acknowledging that he knows exactly what he's doing, and he often is trying to provoke a reaction, whether because he is trying to message to, say, the Lakers or whatever team he's playing for, or just trying to get a reaction. You know, it's often said LeBron does not do things on accident, but that doesn't mean that everything has a message attached. This was really just LeBron working out,
or that every message is aimed at the Lakers front office. Because if you read the caption, and again, apologies if I'm getting the lyricist wrong here. It says, "Say whatever you want, but you damn sure won't be able to say I didn't put in the work. We'll see what happens when I no longer exist. Man, F this shh." And so I think that was just because he didn't want to curse. And this was, I think, pretty clearly in response to Kendrick Perkins, who said on ESPN essentially that he sort of walked it back, but in terms of LeBron's ears, LeBron saw Luka and the skinny Luka men's health photos, and that motivated him to get back in the gym. And so he's basically telling Perk to bleep off because it's a monumentally stupid, because even Perk was like, I know he's always in the lab, and now he's got to show people he's in the lab. First of all, he always shows people he's in the lab. LeBron's been showing.
I think LeBron invented the rise and grind video. Like, I mean, it's not his first time showing off his workouts.
I mean, right. LeBron, like Austin Reeves, for example, was recently quoted as like, because he was being criticized for not putting up like workout videos. He's like, why do I need to do that? I know what I'm doing. I know I'm in the gym. I don't necessarily need to see, not everybody needs to see it. So that's one thing. We'll all find out if Reeves isn't in good shape when training camp starts. But I agree with him. It's not like photos didn't happen. Like, he did do the workout. It's just, we don't need to see it. LeBron has never been like that. LeBron definitely likes to show everybody he's in the lab. He's been showing people he's been in the lab for 20 years. So Perk is wrong on like every level, and you can't look at LeBron. It's not like that. What is it? I forget which is it? Which Thor it was? The Avengers movie.
Ragnarok.
Right? No, but like the one where he gets fat before,
Ragnarok.
like, is it Endgame or whatever? But like, and then he's got to get back into shape. That they didn't get fat Thor before. LeBron's never let himself go like that. So he was giving the finger to Perk, and just happened to be in front of the Clippers thing. And then, does LeBron probably get a giggle out of everybody freaking out again over stuff like this? Probably, but that ain't what this message was about.
I'm just going to break down even further why this was one of the times where it really was just a photo and nothing more, and nothing to see here, move along. If LeBron really wanted to try to either send a message or create the appearance of some type of threat or whatever, you don't do it using the Clippers. Like that's just not something that scares Laker fans. That's something that actually gets Laker fans to mock you. Like it's not going, putting aside, there's no clean way for LeBron to get to the Clippers anytime soon anyway. Like if you're using the Clippers to leverage the fear of your exit to the average Laker fan, they're going to laugh their asses off. Like it's ineffective. And LeBron is too good at this stuff to frankly do something that amateurish. Like he's too good at it. He's too experienced at it.
Yeah. And by the way, I was correct. It's Endgame where you get Fat Thor.
Okay.
So
I thought he was fat in Ragnarok too, but whatever.
I don't think he was.
Okay.
It's a good movie, Ragnarok. Very, very funny. So yeah, somebody was asking me earlier, like, hope we don't like stir the pot on something that does. So I hope we, at the very least, put this one to bed. And it's interesting, like, like people do often with LeBron jump to perhaps the wrong conclusions and stuff. Not that there's no message, but like this one, for example, of LeBron with Jokic's agent and Rich Paul, I believe, correct? Like that. That's
yes. No, it's Maverick Carter. It's Maverick Carter.
Maverick Carter. Sorry, I knew it was part of the team. But the that was like, and the caption on that one was, next, why doing it in 2026? And like it was like he's sitting with Jokic's agent, Andy, LeBron, Jokic, 2026 guaranteed. Here we go. And as it turns out, that was not a photo without a message, but the message might be that LeBron and Rich Paul and that team,
Maverick Carter.
But didn't Rich Paul was talking about like, was it Maverick that was potentially starting the league overseas? I thought it was the whole group.
This is something.
Either way,
I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, thus far, it has been a Maverick Carter project rather than a Rich Paul project.
So my apologies to Maverick Carter, but like the point being, this was around kind of generating a little bit of buzz about this potential idea for a European kind of traveling league that LeBron and Maverick Carter would be involved in. So like, is it about something? Yes. Is it about joining forces with Nikola Jokic next year? Probably not.
No. But now that, though, I still maintain was a photo that at least initially was meant to troll that specific reaction. It eventually ended up, I believe it was Front Office Sports, ended up ultimately breaking the news that that's really what this is about, that they are perhaps trying to plan this league. And we'll talk about it for a different show. It raises all sorts of questions about, when LeBron could theoretically be involved with this. Does he officially have to be done with the NBA in order to have any type of stake or involvement in a basketball league that could be considered a direct competitor to the NBA that he's still playing in? What would this league potentially mean to the NBA, like as a form of competition? Does it become the basketball version of the PGA and LIV? It's yet another potential injection of either Saudi or other type of money that gets
all kinds of questions.
There's all sorts of really interesting topics that come from this. But as we ended up eventually learning, while I do think it was appropriate in the beginning to wonder about the potential passive aggressiveness, because I think it was very much designed to at least get that initial reaction. Right. As it turns out, there could be something equally interesting, just non-trolling attached to it.
Well, it's also too, it's like different photos and different things for different purposes, because you want people kind of, what's this one mean? Like, whatever, because otherwise it's just a picture of LeBron with somebody's agent on a boat. Like, you want to try to generate, it's like, you get a little buzz around this potential thing, get people interested in it, get people hearing about it, get people maybe wanting to invest and talk about it and pump it up as a good idea. Like those are, when you think of LeBron doing things with a purpose, a photo like that drives that kind of purpose. So whereas this one was just him telling Kendrick to F off.
Again, it's not effective as a troll or a threat by using the Clippers. Respectfully to Steve Ballmer and his company, and we've said before, we think they're well run. We think they handle their business well. It just doesn't work.
Doesn't. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 36,000 subscribers to the channel. You can subscribe and watch the show there, as many of you are now watching live. You can also subscribe to the audio version, and frankly should, which you can get on Apple, which you can get on Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, as the people like to say. We will be back on Monday with a fresh batch of shows. We are not intending to really slow down all that much as we get into August. We'll be getting, we will for the first time really be engaging with Eurobasket and any other news that comes down the pike. So we'll see everyone
Luka
Monday.
could be signing an extension any day now.
August 2nd, he is eligible. That is Saturday, folks. Saturday is day one of Luka potentially signing an extension. So we will see everyone on Monday.